Is this the one? Where's the left microphone? That's left. That's the right. Once. Okay. Move these around. Oh gosh. It's like blind listening. Blind listening. I don't really give a damn about doing this video live. I really don't give a damn. My cat magic in the vets again. Oh gosh. Yeah. Tangle. It's tangled up. Tangle that. Pull it. Toss it. Okay, check that USB. Okay, it's back in. Okay, on and off axis. This little kitty, he needs to be rehomed. He's just not compatible with Magic. So I mean, the problem might happen now with Magic, and he's just going to have spasm, urinating bladder issue. Because I've got a little junior cat that's aggravating my senior cat, Magic. So on and off axis, I mean, that's really a tricky thing, that is. That is really tricky. Where to place the microphones. I mean, obviously, if I place them up near close to the screen, one slightly off over axis, over to the center, and then have the other one over to the right, or a little bit on the right center, or maybe the left center, or on the left. There's very little options, because the screen should be, or the room should be, just a little bit more wider. So the speakers are, particularly the HF1, are a little bit more distant away from the side walls, because there's no sure way I can get this microphone up there. I can only get it so far off axis over to the right side of the right speaker. So it's right on the off axis over here. I can only get it so far, and then vice versa over that side. Between the center, right center, and the left center, I can get the microphone easily, but I don't know why I just put a microphone up close to the wall. I can't really get it up close to the wall, because I put a microphone, a microphone. It's just like a tape measure. It's just a measure. Whether I tuck the microphone in the foam wedge tile like that, because the sound's going to go into that position. The sound's going to go onto that point there, and it's going to go slightly in. You know, I'll take a measurement that way. But I can't put it that way because then the microphone is that far out. I need the actual pit and then place that in, you know, and then see what it looks like. But I need the actual, I think these capsules that go in these microphones, I think they're Panasonics, or I've heard of Panasonic ones. They're pretty good. And I've got a few of them. But not sure where I placed them, but they're so cheap. But still, you know, I suppose if I put the microphone there off, you know, that's off axis, and if it's on axis, it's going to be sticking out a little bit, so it's not going to give me the measurement I want to look at. They give me a measurement, but it's not what, you know. There's no way I can pull that microphone. Well, I suppose here, and yes, the window's open because it's hot weather. There's no point putting it there because of the cavity. You know, it's going to behave and give a characteristic frequency, you know, and if I do it on, I can't do it on that, you know, so it's kind of how to use a measurement microphone. I think just use it with a little bit of pinch of silk, just get a measurement sort of thing, you know, just to check the speaker's okay and it's not really looking too bad. I can't help thinking about my cat Magic. He's in the vets at the moment, and oh crikey, he's going to be an inpatient for the next till Monday, the very least. I've got to get this beast rehomed, or not rehomed, maybe fostered. I've got to give. You know, anyone want to foster a cat? Yeah, foster a cat for a month, so I can see what me with the vet, so we can determine whether he is causing my other cat Magic to be upset. And if Magic can urinate easily and his stress level goes down, then I know it's something to do with, you know, it's like having a speaker, and a speaker you got speakers that are all matched, and one of them is not quite the same. It has what's that word called, with frequency phasing, phase, yeah. When you got two microphones on the HF horns, one over there, measure left and right, and then look at the frequency response, and then when you adjust the phase control, you should see the signal going up. You should see an increase. There should be an increase. Bear, get out of there. Come on, Bear. But sometimes it's quite the opposite. There's subtraction partly in some of the frequency. So it's the diaphragm on the compression driver's phase plug that may need realigning again slightly, or maybe another diaphragm placed in, because it might be the one diaphragm might be faulty, and it can cause frequency phase shift issues. Yeah, frequency phase shift issues. If I measured it directly on the amplifier, I don't see those issues. I can adjust the phase variable up and down, and the frequency increases evenly, and that's what you should see on the speaker. But when you don't, then got a little bit more there to do, you know, to solve it, which is simple. I mean, speaker parts are cheap for JBL. They're cheap, almost cheaper. But let me see. Listening on off axis. You can do quite a few things with Room EQ Wizard. You do quite a few things with it. You can change the frequency tone on the... Oh, what's all this? This is all messed up. This has all got jumbled. What the blazes is... What's this all doing there? And that's all got jumbled up. Shouldn't be... it's got to be all up there. Shouldn't do that. Let's check, see if anything else is messed up here on the desktop. Okay, that's in order. Let's move that over, move that over, move that over. Okay, so that one there, put that down there. Oh yeah, move that up there. Check it again. Yeah, that's more like it. Okay, open the REM. Can't quite do it on the true RTO by adjusting, because adjusting the frequency similar to using a crossover, a DSP crossover to adjust the frequency. Open the frequency generator, go to noise, go to and then you got the, you can't see it, you got the you got this down here, and then you can adjust the frequency. So I could adjust it to play pink noise from maybe 8 kilohertz or to 20,000 or whatever. So it's only going to go play like a psst. I can listen to the timbre and the tone and kind of move my head side to side or move side to side while listening. Kind of, you know, even though I am slightly off axis. I am off axis. Theoretically, I am off axis when I'm listening. I'm not on axis. I might be, well, partly on axis with the left center. But I'm off axis with the left channel, center, right, center, and right. But then, you think about it. When we listen to real life sound, we're always listening off axis to whatever it is. So, don't panic. But it's getting the, you know, all these little teeny little things that really don't matter to me. So I'm only thinking about my cat Magic at the moment. I'm just doing this as just a, you know, my cat's in good hands. My cat's in good hands. Whoops, sorry, I've got to put 8,000 there. Tap in so I can play the pink noise. Now I'll just play it on the center. Engage the pink noise. Is it on? I've got to go to multi-stereo mode. So I've got a multi-stereo mode. Let's just double check everything. Just check everything on full band. Okay. Let's go to put the low and high cut filters in place. Turn the fader up. I've got a little bit too much there on the audio limiting. Turn that off. I'll just double check and make sure, because something's not sounding quite right at the moment. Levels are okay. Levels are okay there. Oh, yeah, I can hear that now. So I'm playing 8 kilohertz up to 20,000 on pink noise on the REM, and it sounds like a. It's, I can hear the difference with the off axis and the on and off, even though my HF horn is slightly just moved back just a little bit and just tilted just a little bit downward, not sufficient enough. Need to be a little bit more. But yeah, I can hear that. I can hear that high frequency there. I can hear that high frequency. Yeah, I can hear it. I can hear it. Also, if I changed it to a sine wave tone, it's very difficult to listen to a sine wave tone and pink noise, because there's still multitude of frequencies still playing, even slightly below 8 kilohertz. It's not like there's a Lynx Relay 48 dB elliptical filter like a brick wall right there, unless I put one on the DCX. But it's like just a top end. If I brought it down a bit, bring the 20,000, or no, bring the 8K down a bit lower. I'll just change the 8 to 4,000 kilohertz. 4,000 to 20,000. 20,000 is very hard to hear, and I can't hear 20,000 anymore. 16,000 K, maybe. But that's very, very few and far between, particularly on movie soundtrack, where you get a fundamental sound, or, playing a sci-fi science fiction sound effect, whatever, and it looks like, when looking at it on a spectrum waterfall thing, it looks like just a typical forward frequency sweep, like going up, big deal. Wow, that's exciting. Yeah, I can hear that a little bit clearer now, between 4 and 20,000. But if I lower the 20,000 down to, say, if I lower the 20,000 kilohertz down to, so I've got 4 and 20, bring it down to, let's say 8,000 kilohertz. What does it sound like? Oh, that's interesting. Just sounds a little bit more louderish. Extend it to 9,000. Yeah, I heard a change there slightly. Change it to 10,000. 4 kilohertz to 10,000. Yeah, I can gradually hear the change in the pitch of the pink noise. I go to 12,000. Yeah. Go to 16. Yeah. Okay, I'll take the other frequency up. No, I think I'll just leave it at 4 and 16. Yeah, I can hear that off axis okay. That's pretty decent-ish. It's important. Also, it really is. I don't know. I really don't care about audio at the moment. All I'm thinking about is my cat. All I'm doing is thinking about my cat magic. I really don't give a hoot about bloody hi-fi audio, Blu-ray, 4K rubbish disc. I don't even give a damn about Laserdisc. It's upsetting when you got a pet and it's feeling a little bit under the weather, and you got to take it to the vet, and and they got to use what means they got to getting your pet comfortable and healthy again. Um, hmm. So if I move the microphones down here and play that pink noise and move that microphone side to side, I'm going to see the frequency response going up and down, up and down, up and down. Just as if I'm moving and I'm hearing it and it's moving up and down. It's impossible. You can only equalize so much. It's impossible to do the whole room. Or even if it were outdoors, well, there's a lot of air outdoors, there's a lot of space outdoors, more than what you got indoors. You can only get the frequency response. So all the tones are all the same, because when you put them through an amplifier, they measure flat. When it gets up to the loudspeaker, and even with the microphone up close, that frequency response is up and down, plus and minus this, plus and minus that. It's like, But if you EQ it, you're EQing the amplifier, because you're changing the frequency response on the. But as long as you've got enough headroom on the amplifier, enough power, headroom, then yeah, use the to get the frequency response smoothed on the speaker, and then when you listen to it again, and it's like, oh yeah, I can now hear that a little bit clearer, because there's not this typical peak frequency right up here at this certain frequency, and it's causing an audio masking effect. You want to hear the fabricated sound mix. That's what you want to hear, the fabricated sound mix, whether it's rubbish music or a rubbish movie. They're all fabricated. They're not real. They're fake. All this dynamic range on music and movies, it's all fake. It's make-believe. It's fake. It's impossible to do actual dynamic range on. It's impossible. And even if it is, no one's going to play it back at that sort of absurd level. That they're going to damage their hearing. Just for a piece of lousy rubbish pop music, or rubbish classical music, or a rubbish movie sound mix. You don't want to damage your hearing. Crying out loud. You can't play the sound of real F-14 jet fighters in your room. It's impossible. Those things are bloody. That's why people they've probably got earplugs and ear defenders on, as well as earplugs. Otherwise, you'd be doing that in your room. Think about it. At the end of the day, all you get is an approximation for this, and you want to get it so it's good, so you can hear the sound clear, the panning sounds on when you're sat off axis, and you can hear those sounds clearly, just as if you hear real people in real life. But you get a real person moving and talking and moving. You can hear the timbre changing and the frequency changing, and if they can maintain the same voice level of just reading out something and just repeating it over and over, while keeping their mind on the words and the dynamic range, because it's all about dynamic range. See, you can't hear what I said there because of the crappy microphone on this webcam. If I use my streaming service, or with the microphones and such, it's different. I think I was doing all this on and off axis last night with listening with a mono movie soundtrack, because listening with a mono movie soundtrack is pretty straightforward. There's not too much competition with dynamic range. Is overdone with music in multi-track sound mixes where most sound absolutely rubbish. And it's like, I think they should have just gone back and redone that and made it so it's all clear, the music in the LCR and the surround. And do you really, and sometimes I'm thinking, do you really need the music in the surround channel? Because it's mixed on a stage with microphones, and the stage is up front with a projection screen behind the orchestra, so they're conductors composing the music, playing the music with the orchestra. So you've got a visual guideline to look at, a visual reference guideline. And all you're hearing is the rest of it in the room is the echo. Why don't they mix it out? Why don't they score it outdoors so it's free from echo? This is why Bear needs to be. I've got to rehome him. He needs to be. He needs to be an only cat for someone, because my poor Magic's in the vets at the moment, Jane. And yeah, you're a lot of problem. You're a lot of problem. Yes, you are. You want feeding? You want feeding? You see, he's thinking on the on and off axis. Cats are always thinking on and off axis. Feeding. You come on, I'll get off at this bowl. Come on, boy. Come Magic. Come on, Bear. Come on, there you go. My bear doesn't have any urinating problems. He doesn't have any problems. Oh, what the heck is this on the floor? Hey, bloody hell, this toy here is not going to last long. Well, can't put that back in now, can I? Yeah, that's not going to last long. Magic's not really interested in playing with this. He's not particularly interested. He's not very particularly interested in playing with that. Magic likes to relax. Bears likes to play because he's young. He's a junior cat. On and off axis. On and off. All this blind double listen. Well, bloody hell, what a load of rubbish. I've been blind listening for decades. You go to a cinema. And mostly you're not looking around for loudspeakers. You don't take notice or where the surround speakers are placed, or even you have no idea where the sound is coming from the screen, because you think it's coming from somewhere else. You might think you could see speakers you know, that are called surround speakers, and you think the sound's coming, all that dialogue and everything else is coming from those speakers. It's all behind, mostly, it's all behind the screen. But you got no idea where those speakers are placed or what type of loudspeakers are being used. And then you got projection. You got no idea what processor is being used, what amplifiers are being used, what speaker cable is being used. So effectively, when you go to the cinema every time, you are double or quadrupling blind listening. There's no if, there's no but, there's no debate, there's no vote about it. You are practically a blind listener. And you can see what goes on screen, and then you think all this loud and all this shh and with bloody music and blaring sound of bloody effects rubbish, and then you think, I don't even hear anything like that when I'm driving my car. I don't hear anything like that. What I'm hearing in that movie right now is absolutely appalling. Because I think some people just think it needs to have all this stupid extra frequency sound on top of it and making it harsh, and but films, very carefully mixed on a dubbing stage with PA speakers. That's all they are. PA speakers. And it's got a sound to reproduce. It's got to reproduce. In a cinema's environment. It's just tuning the frequency and getting the frequencies, and maybe even sometimes adding a delay on the center channel. A very, very short delay, not too long, but just a correct amount, or just listening to a film and then adjusting the delay time while listening to, say, some dialogue panning. Or I know it should sound clear, like over that position. I should hear, say, like a character like John McClane in the center channel, and then there's a woman in Die Hard 2 talking on a telephone at a telephone kiosk, and I can hear her saying "yeah," and over on the sort of right side, if I adjust the digital delay a little bit differently on the center channel, that "yeah" or whatever sound is going to kind of drift over slightly and be in the slight wrong position, because the "yeah" sort of part of the dialogue sound in the mix is mixed partly in center and on right channel, or it's kind of like a right half sound pan on that specific stem track of that vocal dialogue. And the main character's dialogue is centered, and so it's not going to drift over to the right or over to the left. If it does, then you got to correct it. But sometimes adjusting the delay, just adjusting it in very tiny adjustment steps until, yeah, that sounds okay. That's okay. And then if I move off axis and on axis and all this, maybe get up, stand up, walk around the room, and then I can still hear that sound coming over. Then it's okay. I think it's spot on then. But is it spot on? Because you got to make sure frequency And frequency phasing and frequency phase shifting are all 1-to-1. That's why you got to use multiple microphones. So one microphone up on each speaker, and when the pink noise goes through, and if the frequency response is not summing up, multiplying in equal frequency and level, then one speaker diaphragm needs to be corrected. It would always look A-OK on an amplifier. Almost. But once it gets to a speaker, it takes on a different frequency shape. Most people probably wouldn't even notice this with their home theaters, like maybe that woman in Die Hard 2 saying, yeah, on the telephone over on the stage right channel. Probably wouldn't, well, like I say, it's a half pan sound. Probably wouldn't even notice it. And all the other sound pans that go with it as well, and sounds that are fixed in center, and sounds that are kind of fixed over on the left or fixed over to the right, or if it's a sound panning sort of thing effect. I doubt most home theaters would even notice. All they notice is it's loud, it's got bass, but they don't really care about the detail. And so if I were to go to someone's top, whatever, they want to brag it's the top home theater on YouTube, whatever, and they paid £1 million for it, and well, I think if they paid for £1 million, it's most likely it's not going to use any cinema PA speakers in that room. They're going to be some hi-fi brand that's never been used in a cinema, much less a dubbing stage. And it's a piece of, it's just like Gene Hackman says in that movie, Enemy of the State. What are you talking about? It's a piece of shit, Hey, man, you just stole a Rolls Royce. What are you talking about? It's a piece of shit, All these different speaker brand this, brand that. Oh my goodness gracious! At the end of the day, they can only reproduce a certain frequency response that we can only hear within our pathetic hearing range. Oh, if cats were more interested than this, I'll tell you, they'll be yelling out for say, hey, we want a little bit more content up to about 90,000 kilohertz because we're not hearing anything, Yeah, you cat. Their hearing range makes our hearing range look pathetic. A bat, well, bats can only hear about 1 kilohertz to the highest ultrasonic frequencies. No point, trying to entertain a bat, really. With all this rubbish 4K garbage, Atmos overhead nonsense, you got to retune your system so it only plays 1 kilohertz up to the highest frequency then. So you got to change all the DSP crossover settings because anything below 1 kilohertz, that's not really interested. That doesn't mean a cat can't hear below 40,000. I think they could hear probably maybe 30, if possible. Just a slight teeny bit below 30, but 20, I don't know. But that doesn't mean they can't feel it, That's why, come on, bear, get off of there. That's why pets, cats, birds, dogs, they all react to a seismic event like earthquakes. It's like when you watch the classic movie Earthquake and you hear all the dogs barking, and that's moments before the earthquake hits, because firstly you get the primary wave, boom, which is going at the speed of sound, and then that's followed afterwards by the secondary wave, which is the seismic wave, which conflicts all the damage. Bear, oi. He's trying to go behind the screen and be a nuisance. Come on. He's trying to be a nuisance. Oh, yeah. Yeah, on and off axis is. But it's very hard to see where the speakers are. Unless I've got some lighting behind there. Then I know where they are. And I'm really surprised how the off axis is. Even though the HF horns are placed up that high, they're way up there. And there's a slightly tilted down, not too much, because there's only so much I can get them to tilt because the magnet structure gets way close to the ceiling and I can't tilt it any more further. The whole assembly needs to be dropped down by at least 8 inches, and then I can tilt that HF horn a little bit more because I know exactly how they should sound, having heard them blind listening for many decades in cinemas. But they sound good back here. Way back here. Get them tuned okay, and films, at the end of the day, they're fabricated sound effects. Real recording sounds. Some are totally maybe fabricated in a computer, but other sounds are organic, natural organic sounds, and carefully put together so you get this sound illusion. I was curious about the on and off axis with the phone and how well it records. I did a kind of short video demo in a shopping center today, and kind of went just to make sure the microphones are working, because when you have your phone in that position, it operates in stereo. When you have it in this position, it only operates in mono recording. That's pretty straightforward now, isn't it? So mono and then stereo, because the microphone is up this end and down at this end. That's pretty simple and straightforward, isn't it? I see so many people that keep doing videos like this. God almighty. Bloody awful. And if you just switched it round that way, you'd switch on the activate the stereo. Or reflective sounds coming in at the microphone. That's all it is. I did a few tests to see how if this was any better than a binaural load of rubbish, like that Newman or whatever the bloody thing's called, £10,000 for a piece of garbage trash dummy head, and you'd have to be a right dummy to buy some rubbish like that. Crying out loud, just 2 microphones and maybe I don't know. I know. Here's something I can use as like a dummy head. Oh, this thing's kind of heavy. I could use this Canon speaker. Put the speaker on the microphone on one side, and it'll look like a head. Think about it. It's got a nice shape to it. Or simply, I could use something like improvise, adapt, overcome. I could use a piece of that. Think of it. Put the microphone on each side, and then that facing forward. As long as there's something like here, I can get some silicone rubber ears. They're very cheap. And then you stick them on the microphone, because you've got to have something on the microphone that's going to behave like the ear canal, because the ear canal then thus has a certain resonant frequency. And then you get this unusual peak frequency. Yes. You've got to take that into account. So when you're measuring your room with your microphone, you really got to put a silicon ear on there, because then you're seeing a frequency response that's, right. Yes, I can see that peak, and yes, that does always sound harsh at that range. Got to remember that. Put a little silicon ear on it. And also, microphones are pretty dumb. They're not like the human ear. You buy all this garbage trash, like this dummy binaural bullshit snake oil thing. A human ear is a totally different thing. You don't forget, there's a fluid also in your ear. There's a fluid. There is not a fluid in a bloody microphone. Apart from way in, there might be a cooling ferro whatever fluid, but then you also got the little hairs inside that react to frequencies. A microphone doesn't have any of that. It's just some copper and a coil, and fucking hell, it doesn't behave anything like a bloody ear. You get different microphones, of course, that kind of look like an ear, and it looks like the diaphragm of an ear. But then even that's bullshit, because the diaphragm on an ear is very tiny in size. Your ear canal down to your ear canal down to where your eardrum is, or with the ear membrane, is about 20-25 millimeters. You know, you've got to have something that kind of, use the microphone partly like anything else, just like a tape measure. When you measure a piece of wood, and then you measure twice, cut once, measure the speaker distance twice, and then run the frequency sweep, until blue in the bloody face. And then you put the microphone in a different position, do that, measure twice again, do the sweep, look at the on and off axis, because the off axis is important. It is important. It is important. It's important that so you get a nice consistent sound, so you can hear, so you can move around, and you can still hear this nice consistent. If you've got too much boost in a frequency range, then it's going to cause a problem in the sound mix. But then some sound mixes sometimes on movies are rubbish. Particularly that Star Trek bloody 4K rubbish. And you got Captain Kirk and Dr. Spock walking along the side with the Golden Gate Bridge in the background, and then you got a cyclist that comes by on the left and then goes through the center over to the right. You go back to the previous Blu-ray and the other DVDs, you can only hear the chain and the derailleur on the bike only on the left channel. Once it gets to the center and to the right, you can't barely hear it, because it's a stem track. It's a stem track. All the sound elements are all individual, and someone's not doing their bloody listening job at mixing, and it's got the bloody things way too bloody soft, and you can barely hear the damn thing. I've got to make equalization adjustments at a certain frequency, because first I've got to see where it is on the left and what frequency that is mostly peaking at, and then I've got to make those adjustments in the center and the right. But that's also going to make a mess with the rest of the mix, for God's sakes. Any other sound effect that comes up, it's just going to be a mess. Oh, but they kind of corrected it a little bit on the 4K, apart from all the rubbish color and the fake grain effect. But they still not even bloody bothered to fix Star Trek 2 or Star Trek the Motion Picture with a missing sound effect. Bloody hell, talk about people. Bloody, you got these audio files and all. Hey, if I nominated an audio file, I bet they couldn't even hear that. They're just a load of... I think some of them are just overrated channels and they're not listening. They just want 10 million bloody subscribers. It would be, though, interesting if I had my hands on the 70mm print of Star Trek 4 and then listen to that scene where the cyclist is going through left, centre, right to see if the sound is spot on or if it's the same issue. Maybe if it is the same issue, maybe that's why it lost the Academy Award for Best Sound. Yeah, it's hit and miss what movie to play. So I wouldn't kind of play the Blu-ray edition anymore because that's yuck, waxy, yuck. So I'd have to play that 4K rubbish version. Or I could play the Blu-ray version, which is still the same as the 4K. And only now, what I'm going to do I'm going to switch off that bloody high dynamic range. I'm going to switch it off totally. I switched it off on the Panasonic last night. I switched it off, but I haven't yet tested. So, you know, it's testing on and off axis on speakers, testing visual. Gosh almighty, there's so many things to check and analyze. You know, like, you know, some bloody overrated actor like Robert De Niro analyze this. You know, I'm analyzing this. You know, it causes anxiety, stress, pisses me off, makes me bloody angry when people are purposely messing things up. And you can't even listen to this garbage. They will even watch it because it's purposely messed up. Oh. Another thing with my HF horns with the on and off axis, they're so close together. There's only about a few inches between them. There's only a few inches. Because it's a very tight, and usually it's not very possible to get a good sound that way, but it's kind of working it out and trying to make it possible. But possible, film sound, music sound in mixes and that will never sound real because it's impossible. You can never make them sound real. Because where the microphones are placed when it's recording all that is really the listener's position to how far away from that orchestra they are with the microphone placement. But then the microphones are spread out. We can't do that with our hearing. We can't morph and stretch and apart from Fantastic X-Man or whatever he is, where he can stretch himself. It's just not doable. Yeah, I heard a video the other day with this binaural recording. It sounded rubbish. It was in an environment that I've been to many times, Leicester Square at London. It starts with the video with the binaural recording coming off a subway train. But there was some things I listened to on the headphones, then I thought the headphones are just too intimidating. So I took the headphones off and try and balance the level out in the room because I've got to rebalance the level and such, frequency and all that, and just balance the level out. Used Dolby Surround, the Dolby Surround thing on that, but just used it on the, I think I've got a problem, Houston. Just waiting for the AVR to start up. Yeah. Because every time the AVR shuts down, it crashes the computer and it freezes, and I've got to restart the computer again. I was just checking to see if the mouse is. All this garbage trash, I'll tell you. You had old AVRs years ago, you never had any hassles. You get this new garbage rubbish today, you get nothing but hassle. Purpose bugs placed in all this garbage trash on purpose. Yeah, this binaural recording was just rubbish. Utter rubbish. And I can hear traffic sound moving around. It was so faint on the binaural recording. It was like distant. I mean, back of the box, like I can barely hear that. I know what the sound pressure of that traffic is. I know what the sound pressure level is like at London on a busy road. It's 90 plus dBA. Down here, where I live, it's a little bit less than that. You go up London, you got often on some of the roads, you got like 3 lanes. Down here, you only get 2 lanes. That's like 3 lanes for each single part of the road. Like it's like a motorway, and it is. And with that said, there is a lot of traffic on there, and it is bloody noisy. 90 plus dBA. You don't really want to particularly listen to that. You want earplugs. The DVC, which, well, if you frequency filtered it, it's not gonna matter too much, But it's so bloody environmentally bloody loud. And this binaural recording was absolutely rubbish at picking all that sound up. So you got to calibrate the binaural recording. You got to do some sound tests first before actually going out and using it. So that and keeping an eye on the level recording, that it doesn't clip, that it doesn't distort, because it will. Because it's impossible to capture sound. You got to if a certain thing's going to be at a certain loud sound dynamic pressure loudness, you got to readjust the gain level. Otherwise, it's just going to distort. You got to keep the eye on your levels when you're going out with this bind, so you're not clipping the level, and it's several dB just below. But I suppose also maybe using an SPL meter with a binaural recording, so you know what the sound pressure level is, but the microphone sensitivity and the recording sensitivity and all that, you got to take this into account and sort of make the necessary adjustments. Have an equalizer on the recording thing to an EQ curve or such. But it was absolutely rubbish what I listened to. It was bloody rubbish. Even when walking past a few people, I could barely hear them over on my right side. They were so faint. I thought, that's not a very good binaural recording. Whatever was being used, it might be the cheap thing that's £300, and you stick it on. You can stick it on your camera, sort of thing, and it's very simple. Or if it's someone walking around with that stupid, pathetic £10,000 dummy head, snake oil, well then bloody hell, that thing really is a piece of garbage. It's nothing like what I hear in freaking real life. the idea of getting a binaural recording is to capture something like, wow, yeah. And then you can listen back and think, wow, that's what that environment sounds like. Wow, that's it. That's okay. If I did one and I was displeased with it, I probably wouldn't want to use the bloody thing as a bloody video. I think, crikey, I've got to do this again, start again until I get it perfect, and I'm proficient at it. You can only get so much done on one of these, you know. You've got a USB port, so I can stick one of those binaural microphone things on there, and then adjust the record level on it. But I'll keep an eye on the record level so it doesn't clip. Rather, you know, personally, I would rather use my Sony, the basic Panasonic microphone on it is kind of okay. It's not perfect. I could change it to another one. I can't really use my Behringer microphones because, you know, they'd all have to be phantom powered, and I'd have to have an extra battery pack and a preamplifier for them, and too much to just carry around just to do a bloody recording of a. I think if that can just record some of the sound when it's in, when the phone is in that position, you know, not that position, because that position is mono and that position is stereo. Makes sense? And plus your video image looks better, you know. And hearing, I go to Wikipedia, I look at all the diagrams on binaural recording, front, back, up, down. I didn't hear any sense of that in that binaural recording that I was listening to. I didn't get any sense of anything above, down. I just got a capture of sound, but no actual presence that could say I'm looking down at that angle. Like I'm hearing footsteps, yeah, and footsteps come in all different types of sound depending on what shoes, footwear you're wearing. If you've got hard heels, they're going to make different sound frequency on the depending on what ground surface it is. If it's pavement, it's going to make a click, click, click. If it's sneakers or a pair of slippers, you know, it's going to be very soft. If it's barefoot, it's going to be even a bit more softer, but depending on what you do, if you can make that sort of sound against the pavement surface. There's so many variables. There are many variables. But microphones and the recording and things and how they come today, compared to decades ago, where small video cameras were getting okay, and with stereo recording, you know, they've gone from mono to stereo recording, and it's not really stereo. You get a spaciousness. That's all you get, is spaciousness of. It's not like when you're playing the sound, and if you play it on a Pro Logic system and such, and then the sound only comes in the center channel out as mono. If it's recorded with a stereo, a spaciousness, and then you get the left, the center, the left, and the right plane, and you can hear, you know, sounds more precisely placed if you just listen to speakers. If you sat over here, you still hear the sound over this side. You're going to hear the sound a little bit more loud on this side, particularly with the phantom center signal that's between the two channels. Even when I did a test recording with that and the microphone, so it'll be facing that direction. And Bear, wait, get up there. That's not a scratching post. I'm going to have to part with you, Bear. You're not compatible, and you've upset Magic, and you're not compatible. I'm going to have to part with you, sweetie. You know? I have to part with you. Really, really upsets me. I know what you're thinking, Bear. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking there. So on and off access. Oh yeah. Even my air conditioner's off access. I mean, it's over there, and I can adjust the axes of the flow of the air to go an upward angle. I can direct it over to this side or over to that side or over to that side. It's, I can direct its axis. It's better when it's coming this way because then it cools you down. I don't think I've got anything in that player on that. I think it's the other one. Just check the remote's okay. Yeah, even playing the aspect ratio, on and off accesses and aspect ratios, and got it on that aspect ratio at the moment. So I was playing Concorde 1980, the Concorde. And so that the image is more centered in the screen. It's got the black bars here between there. If I play a 16:9 ratio or a scope movie 235 scope, then it's got the black bars more or less should be the same height, but the width is more because it's anamorphic. If it was filmed with anamorphic lenses and genuine anamorphic and not some James Cameron bullshit, poor man's Super 35 rubbish where it's not legitimate scope, it's fake. Yeah. Most of the airport movies, most of the airport movies were scope, except for Airport Concorde, which was only widescreen. So Airport 75 and 77 were all scope. Don't know why they went. And the sound mix on Concorde is pretty lousy sounding rubbish mix. It made me almost laugh at one scene, thinking this is outdoors in a French kind of town area, because this is all probably filmed in America. It's probably not filmed in France and all this, because it's fake. But it made me laugh listening to the background sound of crickets chirping. I think that's a road, right? You come out of a restaurant onto a pavement, onto a road, and you're hearing the sound of I can hear the sound of crickets, and I think, what the bloody hell are crickets doing on this sound mix, on this scene in this movie? It made me laugh. I've never heard crickets ever. The only way I'd heard crickets if it was in a field or not on a road. Like, it sounds like the same cricket sound effect that they always use in movie soundtracks, because it's kind of a good recording, so therefore they use it. Just try and find that scene. Not sure what chapter it is. Let's see where it is. Ah, right. Okay. So I'll visual search it back. I'll stop it there. I'll get my sound format programmed in. The sound format programmed in. Should be getting sound. Just check everything on me. Just check everything's set up right. It's on Blu-ray mode. So it should be. I got sound there. Not getting any sound on the. I know what it is. It's that CP500. Let's see. Let's power it down and power it back on. And power it back on. I'm on format 61, I think. I'm on format 61. And my CP200. Yep, no, I've got sound. Because sometimes the CP500 has a snag. Just like the Dolby CP650 at the Empire Leicester Square many years ago, that had a sound fault and went cuckoo, and then suddenly total loss of sound in the center channel. Yeah. That's not France. That's the bloody backlot of bloody Universal Studios or whatever it is. Claire, come on away. Come on. Let's just find that. Let's find that scene. You got those. Okay, let's back it up. Back it up. Where is it? All right. Go back 10 seconds. Here it is. This is just bloody hilarious. I'll turn the fader right up.
I need some air, Kevin.
Listen to those bloody crickets in the background. This is
Like what,
this is supposed to be in France, yeah. And I can hear these bloody crickets chirping outside on a street, on a road, like bullshit. Bloody hell. Talk about a bad sound mix. Dear, dear. I don't know why the director said, I think we should have crickets in the background on this scene where they come out of the restaurant. It just, I've never heard crickets outdoors on a street, on a road, downtown. No, maybe in the grass, yeah, because usually that's where they hang out. They don't usually hang out on pavements and usually the same sound effect that they typically use on a cricket sound effect, maybe on the Universal dubbing stages that they always seem to use over and over and over. It sounds like the same cricket sound effect, just like the eagle sound effect that you often hear in these movies, and it's and it's like, I've heard that eagle sound before, because it's a good recording, so they just keep using it over and over and over. They use the same recording sound effect, and when I'm listening on the off axis and I can hear that freaking sound effect, and I'm thinking, bloody hell, what are crickets doing in Paris on a road? Never would happen. And this is not Paris. It's not Paris. This is the Universal backlot, you know. This is a low budget movie, you know. There is a video upload of it on YouTube, Airport Concorde, and it sounds bloody awful. Bloody awful. Because someone's compressed the audio or done something to the mono sound recording on the playback for the recording upload, and it sounds absolutely appalling. But when I actually put the movie on and had another listen and felt, yeah, there's other sounds in the movie that kind of like just don't sound right in the mix. Particularly when the plane crashes at near the end, and the loudness and or where it's getting chased with drone killer missile attack planes or whatever the heck it is in the movie. And this dude there that's trying to plant a device so the cabin door hatch will open and then decompress the air cabin pressure so the plane would crash. This guy's so bloody ridiculous and panicked too much. You know, when he drops his money at the airport, and then all the guy is saying, the guy, Ma, you dropped your money. You know, if he just said, oh, thank you, turn around, thank you, he wouldn't have panicked and he wouldn't have had to run off, and then a Concorde aircraft getting caught up in the air turbulence and that, and oh dear. Now this airport movie starting to look like some cheap porno movie. I mean, sloppy, too sloppy. I don't want to see George Kennedy in some half-assed porn, because it reminds me of The Naked Gun 2.5, where he gets a chainsaw dildo with a dildo stuck on the end of a chainsaw, and it turns it on and wobble, 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 wobble. Oh, bloody hell. I just can't get that image out of my head. Oh, it's all this sloppy. I don't want to see. I want to see the action. I want to see the airplane, or see the bad guys talking on the phone and shit, and because I find it more interesting. And listening off axis, because I am effectively blind listening off axis. Usually, when I go to a cinema, used to go to a cinema, I would always be sat on axis on a center line with the center channel. But seeing I'm only a few inches away between this seat and the center, I'm only a few inches. That much. 24 inches. Big deal. But 24 inches can be a big deal when listening off axis. It can be a pretty big deal. If you know what to look for, what to listen for. But I don't really need to pay too much attention because this is a mono mix and it's only going to come out from one speaker. So doesn't really matter that much. When you've got a complex mix multi-channel, it does matter if you're on and off axis. If the sound is all perfect and spot on, then every seat should be a good seat, because we're listening off axis, should be a good seat. I've always been curious of the past when listening downtown. Before the ABC changed its what looked like Altec speakers, they could be Volt, but they're not. They're a British speaker, but the design looks similar-ish to the Altec A4 speaker, which was a vented, kind of like a vented horn bass driver cab box with two bass drivers stacked horizontally within the cabinet. So you've got to take the back of the cabinet off, and then you get inside, and then you can remove the bass drivers. Usually, if they're in a THX cinema today, you think, how do you get the bass drivers? How do you get them out? Because they're fitted on the front. You go up to the baffle wall behind it, you pull the speaker out, you just pull it out of place, and then take the faulty bass driver out and put the new one in and just push it back in position. When you got a HF horn to replace, you just have to go up there and just take the compression driver off, take the cap off at the back and take the diaphragm out, put a new diaphragm on, but you got to rigorously check that all the diaphragm, all the are all aligned and spot on. It's quite, you can't just fit a diaphragm on a compression driver and then just play the sound. Doesn't work that way. You got to run tests, pink noise, sine wave tone, and make sure it doesn't produce any resonant frequency or harmonic. Most people that probably change compression driver diaphragms probably don't do those test checks, and so their sound's going to sound distorted at certain frequency. It's going to sound like, when it plays a certain frequency, maybe a trumpet, it's going to sounds like it's distorting. That's because it's not properly aligned to the diaphragm. It's slightly out of place. You've got to use a sine wave tone. Play a sine wave tone 200 hertz, 250, 300, 400, 500, and look at the RTA to see if you've got any harmonic frequencies appearing. So if you've got the fundamental up here, that's A-OK. But if you've got some harmonics, you got to realign until that harmonic drops down, and then run a frequency sweep, put the microphone, like say, it's all in position, look at the pink noise, observe it in real time. Does it exhibit this characteristic to what the manufacturer's frequency response shows If it does, then it's okay. It's spot on. Oh, little cute little doggy. A little chihuahua. A little chihuahua. A seeing eye dog, and she's got freaking sunglasses. Freaking, oh my god, seeing eye dog. Rose, yeah, Rose. Oh. Oh, little cute chihuahua.
Ni tú. ¿Qué te parece? No te preocupes que cuando venga la revolución.
Yeah. Yeah, this guy, bloody hell, he panics. I don't know how much they paid him, whatever, to sabotage the airplane, but even if they paid him $1 million, you know. Yeah, and he's got the money stashed up, but you know, like, and then suddenly he panics when the security guard he's just saying, "Hey, man, you just drop your money." It's not his business, you know. But if you panic and that, you look bloody stupid, suspicious, and that, and then, idiot. Should have just, yeah. Oh, thank you. You know, sometimes happens. You know, money falls out your pocket. You know, you just say thank you. You know, and that'd be that. He'd be on his plane, and the plane would probably successfully crash. What he's probably done now, he's jinxed the timeline, and the plane's not going to kind of crash in the way that, you know, they're hoping to crash it. And bloody hell, do people back then wear actual fedoras? Look like a flipping Chicago gangster wearing that freaking hat. Oh, be interesting where if the actual location is France or another airport, and they just dress it up to make it look like it's France. Just go to, you know, locations, IMDb location, filming location, to see where the filming locations are. Crikey, he's panicking, running around, and bloody hell, he's still running around. Bloody hell. Yeah, just running around, and a Concorde's going to take off, and it's going to get caught up in the air turbulence. The air. And then you say, look at all that money. Look, that's money flying around. Oh, dear. This film also has got grain. It's got grain on it. It's got proper film grain on it. So I don't think I'd want to upgrade this movie to Blu-ray, you know, knowing there's probably going to be degraining and DNR on it, and And also with Blu-rays, you get fake 1080p. Like they're not real, like scanning the film print and doing a legitimate, But this one's got grain on it, actual grain. I can see it all moving around, the grain. It's none of that 4K digital fake grain noise effect. Proper grain on this movie, I can see. And it's not really what you would call a brilliant movie, but I can see proper grain. I suppose that's what if you get something that's like really modern and bullshit, hyped up, and it's all degrained and digital fake noise grain added over it. And why go through those? Why go through all that just to bullshit the image? Makes no sense. Doesn't make any sense. Yeah. It's also interesting playing the sound off axis with 3 speakers playing behind the screen. Or I could do it with five speakers, so the mono mix will be playing on 5 speakers behind the screen. But it's also important to get the most part of it, of the sound frequency, so it's centered, and just maybe changing on purpose the crossover frequency, a crossover on the DCX for the left center, the right center. The left center, right center, and the left and right channel. Or I could just turn off the HF horns for left and right, left center, right center. Leave the center one on, and just leave the bass channels playing, so it enhances the bass a lot more for the mono playback. Yeah, try doing that on a Trinnov. Yeah, 30,000 doesn't necessarily buy you a kitchen sink. But what I was also thinking about was the past, when listening to a movie, like I say, down at the ABC, and it used to, on the center line position, I can remember it on movies such as like Godfather Part 3. I only played 35mm Dolby Stereo A type on a CB200 on hang on, actually that would have been on the what year did Godfather 3 come out? Yeah, what year did that movie come out? What year was that release? Was it 1990 or 91? If it was, because they had they fitted new JBL in for Lethal Weapon for when Lethal Weapon 2 Lethal Weapon 3. Yeah, Lethal Weapon 3, yeah. Don't really like Godfather movies. I hate them. They're very violent movies and utterly bloody depressing. Don't need to watch movies like that anymore. Change these bloody glasses so I can bloody see. That's it, focus. Oh yeah, Godfather 3 was 1990. Right, so I'd have been listening on those other cinema PA speakers behind the screen, which was a five screen speaker for 70mm use. But it always sounded like kind of a phase issue when sat halfway back in the auditorium and kind of shifting my head slightly like that. I could hear this phase shifting effect going on, particularly when it might be, I think maybe with, was it with dialogue? Because I could do a similar thing with mine. Just got to use this as the main fader now. So,
would you mind turning on the music, please?
Come on.
Excuse me.
Put that up there.
It's back here. Yeah.
Change format. Speed indicators. Go down there. I'm going to change format on here is down here. All right, turn that fader back. Turn that fader back up. So
warning light should indicate it's open.
The movie now is playing on my left center or right center channel in mono, dual mono, left center, right center.
It was all right at the pre-flight check. I'm going back to check that noise, Joseph.
So I can kind of move, shift.
It's not working. It was all right at the pre-flight check. I'm going back to check that noise, Joseph. Let's have the seatbelt sign.
Oh yeah, I like that grain there. Oh, that's heavy grain.
It was all right at the pre-flight check. I'm going back to check that noise, Joseph.
It is what it is. You get that sort of kind of, like that shot there of the Concorde. Oh yeah, I like the grain. In that. Oh, don't get grainier than that. That's pretty dense grain, actually, because of the film stock.
To the pre-flight check. I'm going back to check that noise, Joseph.
Of course, if I over this position, I'll get a little bit further back.
It was all right at the pre-flight check.
Whistling and a banging noise from the bottom of the aircraft.
Jesus, the cargo door. The warning light should indicate it's open.
I hear the sound kind of like there, but more on the right center. More on the right center.
The warning light should
because it depends on the angle and the distance.
It's open. It's not working. It was all right at the pre-flight check. I'm going back to check that noise, Joseph.
Of course, if I'm on a center blind position at the back, but can't really get at the back. I've got a lot of clutter on the seats. That's pretty good on the front left. It's pretty good on the front left row. Would be on the center. Would be if I'm sat more in that seat rather than standing and slightly at a different angle. I can perceive the sound like it's coming from a single speaker, but it's not. It's coming from the left center, right center. There. Come on. You stop trying to snoop and get behind that screen. I'm pissed off with you doing things like that, Bear. It's not a playground. And would you stop jumping onto that bloody projector? God, you are not compatible, Bear. You aren't really. You need a home where you got a little bit more open space to play, run around. You're too adventurous. You're just you know. You put poor magic in the pet hospital. You put poor magic in the pet hospital because you're winding him up. Because you're the the devil cat. You're the devil cat. A spawn of Kitty. Yeah. Mm. Mm.
We better run a complete systems check.
Yes, sir. Altimeters?
Set and checked.
This little thing on the back of this remote.
What's wrong?
It's not latching on very easily.
Feels like my seat's coming loose.
Some joke.
What's that
This
noise?
bit there.
I don't hear anything.
This bit there.
Would you mind turning off the music, please?
Come on.
Excuse me.
It's almost if it's going to snap and break off.
Airspeed indicators.
It's almost if it's going to snap and break off. Piece of plastic, that you can't expect much. That's why you see most remote controls. That's why you see most remote controls with a bit of tape going around it. It doesn't really particularly matter if that comes off. And yes, those are very small batteries in there with a bit of tin foil. As long as they're 1.5 volt and you've got a bit of tin foil going between, you make a connection and the remote still works. You could have a 9-volt battery attached to the remote, but you got to put then some resistors on that 9-volt battery. You got to put some resistors on it to lower the voltage down, or have a variable resistor that can take the handle the voltage level and such, and then regulate the voltage and just turn it down. And of course, the battery would have to be taped to the remote. Well, I suppose you could actually modify these remotes. Well, actually, thinking about it, with all this 3D printing, make a duplicate of the remote, kind of like a duplicate, but you modify the housing for the battery. So it would have a 9-volt battery to be fitted, and with the correct resistance on resistors and such to lower the voltage down and such. That remote's going to last for that remote would last a fair few years with a 9-volt battery, because it's only going to be drawing very few millivolts every now and then when you use it. The more you keep using that's not really a light. It looks like a light, but it's not like a light because it's infrared, and only a video camera can see it, and it perceives like it's a light. It's very difficult to do it. You've got to do it with the light turned off because it's infrared. But the camera is still seeing, because the camera registers the light frequency. So if I aim it at my hand and press it on and off, see, it looks like a light, but it's not. It's like it's like an episode of Star Trek. Mr. Spock says to Captain Kirk, it is there, but it isn't. And then you get Captain Kirk getting so annoyed because of his logic and thinking, I want facts, Mr. Spock. I don't want humor. I've given you the facts. And because I'm aiming the remote at my hand, you think it's lighting me up. Well, if I point it at my face underneath, see? There is no light there. But it is there, but it isn't. It's only the video camera device that registers, that can see the infrared. My eye can't see it. It's not really lighting my hand up. There. That's not really lighting my hand up. It's infrared. It's a light frequency that is not visible to the eye. It is only visible to a video device camera. You can use those that sort of thing for quite a few tricks. You know, do quite a few tricks with those sort of things. Make a suit that's covered with infrared emitters, sensors, and then battery pack power supply for it. And then if you walk around outdoors and that, and you've got all these cameras all over the place looking, you know, they'll see a glowing image, an image that's glowing like otherworldly. And it would take someone has to be very, very clever to figure out what it is, you know, when most people would be scratching their head. And it's videos all over bloody YouTube thinking it's some sort of alien encounter when it's just someone covered with a load of infrared light sensors. And, you know, when they're all turned on, that's all you're going to see. That's all the video cameras will see. And yet if you would go down a road, you know, you have say like the pigs, the fuzz drive down the road because they're picking up they're getting a call of some strange thing. They'll be driving down the road. They don't see anything. They see someone walking by. They're not gonna ask or think twice because they're looking for glowing light. It's very easy to, you know, it's like now you see me, now you don't. And also checks see if the battery's okay. I know the remote's working, but I don't know what the voltage level is, so I have to check that on a multimeter to see if the battery levels are which will be a little bit low now. They're usually 1.5 volt, sometimes 1.53 volt. Or 1.54 volt. If the batteries get down below 1.20 volt, the remote's not going to work it's not going to function very well because there's just not a sufficient amount to operate the remote. Once it gets down to a certain voltage, you know, might as well use those you can still use those batteries for something else, you know, but not necessarily a remote, depending on what is required, the voltage. Oh. So I play this movie in many forms. So if I were to want it to play literally over 5 screen speakers in mono, and I'll just go down to the multi-stereo mode multi-channel stereo. Let's just back up a scene, chapter. Let's back that up. Let's just back it up a little bit before the cargo door opens. Okay. I'll just set it to...
What was that?
So I can play any sound format. Play any sound format. But because it's a mono sound, and if I try to activate the 5 screen, got to do a little bit more to the sound, because I got to kind of put it out of phase a little bit slightly, so it kind of spreads out into all the other channels. And can't do it on the multi. Can't do it on the general. Can't go to general and use. I can't use the zone output and change the level of left or right channel by increase or decrease, because that only operates on the left the left and right output, which is on a different output on the AVR. Alternative is using the DCX. Alternative is using the DCX. So that's just going out the center channel at the moment.
Very quiet. Oh, I was just thinking about my wife. Get real lonely, my friend.
Sir, Paris Control advises of a...
Put that there. Where is it? It's got the levels there. But they only go out independently on A, B, and C.
You look like you lost your best friend.
So I might as well do it the other way around. Mute the HF left and right.
Why don't you stretch out? I can see right there.
So I'll have to have another link going in, because you can't do it through a matrix. You because the mono signal would only still go out unless it would still only go out as a center signal if it's mono. The signal's got to be actually shifted by a few dB, so it would kind of spread out artificially.
I always wanted a big family. I guess I'm one of those wholesome slobs.
So I could play this just as LCR mono.
Coach Marco would like to
Full
know
range
where-
on the center and just play have the bass on left and have the bass playing left to right, so it just gives it a bit more, you know, especially when it's projected on the big screen, and it just gives the sound just a little bit more, you know.
She says hi.
Just like Disneyland up here. This shows how high we are. This shows how fast we're going. This is Mickey Mouse.
Yeah. Ooh, the Sambish, the mystery of the music.
What was that?
What was that?
Something popped open.
It's interesting how that sound, when it's so many miles up, it's moving at Mach 2. The Concord's moving at Mach 2, and you hear that sound. That conch, so clear,
What was that?
and it's moving it's moving twice the speed of sound.
Something popped open.
There will be a lot of rushing air noise on the exterior. It'd be very hard to hear that sound. Be very hard to hear it.
I guess not. Thank you for coming by.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Kind.
Wow. But does it sound like a real saxophone? No. Because I had to play it a little bit more louder. And it doesn't sound like it's a sound of a saxophone, but I should be able to make sounds myself, like, but there's just too much of a sound on the soundtrack that's doing a masking effect and such, and it's got, you know, the two girls playing the other music on a cassette thing, a Walkman, and they're laughing and giggling. It's an okay fabricated recording, but it didn't sound realistic, you know, like being there sort of thing. Plus it just sounds a little bit toppy. And then I think I'd want to turn the HF horn down. Just turn the HF horn down or turn the bass drivers up. Ooh, look at that carpet moving. Ooh, that's not good. That's not good. Ooh. If I play it 0 dB, that sounds okay. Man, I swear that floor is moving. You're spaced. So I've turned my HF horn down, minus 10 dB. Now I'm going to turn the fader level up. Yeah, that sounds goodish. That sounds good. You feel more the bass, more the drama.
Oh, I can swear that floor is moving.
You're space, baby. Space.
Oh, I can swear that floor is moving.
You're space, baby.
And when you get particularly on cinema PA speaker, on the off axis, on the on axis, and then when you listen to dialogue and on PA cinema speakers, it sounds just like the cinema. So it has that tonality, that depth of exaggeratedness on, dialogue. Like I can almost feel the dialogue against my body, and usually that doesn't happen in real life. It's impossible. It's an impossibility. That just doesn't happen. If I were to place my hand on someone's shoulder and someone's talking arm's length distance away, I'd then feel their voice. I take it off. I only hear the sound frequency of the voice. I don't feel it pressing against my body. It doesn't happen in real life. Only certain sounds, but when playing it through, it's just exaggerating everything, and it's kind of better than I suppose a small speaker. Well, or most people's home theater, they probably wouldn't be thinking, oh, I'm not getting much bass from my center channel. I'm not getting much bass on the left center, or I'm not getting much bass on the surround channel. Dear. You think you got to buy new speakers? Maybe try use a DSP bass, DSP loudspeaker management crossover system or such, or some parametric EQ filter, and then just put a very wide PEQ filter in, change the Q bandwidth pretty wide, put it in a certain range, cut the level down, and then just raise up the level up on the surrounds, and then you'll start feeling the surround bass a lot more. Very easily done. Isn't that right? Bear. Keep thinking Magic's here, but he's at the vets at the moment. Yeah, it'd be snoozing. It'd be in his little, very wide space area to keep him calm. Spaced.
Oh, I could swear that floor is moving.
Your space, baby. Space.
Yeah, put the other filter on. Put the other PEQ filter on to sort of, make an adjustment. Turn the HF on level back up.
I could swear that floor is moving.
Your space, baby. Space.
Spaced. Man, I can feel that floor is moving.
Oh, I could swear that floor is moving.
Oh, moving, and I can feel that sound coming right up to here and over. I can feel it,
Oh, I could swear that floor is moving.
Your space, baby. Space.
Don't get too much on female because of female frequency response. Say the low end on female frequency response is here. The male frequency response is going to go down a few more octave lower.
Oh, I could swear that floor is moving.
Your space, baby. Space.
But still can feel some of the other part of the frequency range. But female frequency doesn't go down low, low, low. Well, it doesn't go down as low as male. And it's only a small margin difference. Hey, space baby. Yeah, if you can male, you can articulate the vocal. I wonder if it's easy for a female to kind of try and sound like a male voice. I know, honey. And, it's kind of keeping it like, maintaining that fake sound. Man, I swear that floor is moving.
Oh, I could swear that floor is moving.
Boy, I can swear that floor is moving. Yeah.
Oh, I could swear that floor is moving.
Your space, baby. Space.
Gremlins.
I think I've got a real gremlin here. I've got a real mogwai there. Yeah, I mean, I don't need to get him wet. Otherwise, gremlins. Yeah. That sounds pretty okay-ish, that sound effect and such.
Your space, baby. Space.
Gremlins. Gremlins. I almost did that in sync. Just probably about a frame out, but yeah. just about, just got to know when to watch the visual and then at the right time just say the word Gremlins. While shuffling some cards. Gremlins. Oh, and on that pluck on the instrument, I can feel that. Wow, on the off axis, I can feel that sound.
I'm getting a little vibration on the yoke. We'd better run a complete systems check.
But I'm not feeling the vibration.
I'm getting a little vibration on the yoke. We'd better run a complete systems check.
Yes, sir. Altimeters?
Set and checked.
I can feel the concord and the sound from the distance on the exterior. I don't think so in real life. I would only hear the sound. I don't think I would be feeling it. Not at that distance. Not at that distance, which is several hundreds, probably about maybe 200, 250, maybe 250 feet distance. You'd only hear it. You wouldn't feel that sound. Even though it's got the speed of sound, no, I don't think you'd feel it. I think you'd only hear it. So kind of like riding the fader, turn it down a little bit or adjust the frequency response on the crossover at a certain frequency range, where it's peaking at a certain frequency. But it's interesting. It's interesting.
What's wrong?
Oh, I just can't get comfortable. Feels like my seat's coming loose.
Got to wonder about whether my seat's coming loose.
What's wrong?
Oh, I just can't get comfortable. Feels like my seat's coming loose.
Some joke.
What's that noise?
I don't hear anything.
Would you mind turning off the music, please?
Come on.
Excuse me. It's back here.
Yeah.
Airspeed indicators?
Airspeed indicator check. Okay. We're getting a whistling and a banging noise from the bottom of the aircraft. Jesus, the cargo door. Okay. We're getting a whistling and a banging noise from the bottom of the aircraft. Speed indicator check. Okay. We're getting a whistling and a banging noise from the bottom of the aircraft. Jesus, the cargo door.
The one I should indicate if it's open.
Peter?
It's not working. It was all right at the pre-flight check.
Peter?
It's not working. It was all right at the pre-flight check.
I'm going back to check that noise, Joseph.
I like the sound of that dialogue. Recording. I like the recording of it.
Let's have.
It's not working. It was all right at the pre-flight check.
It's open.
Peter?
Speed indicators.
Airspeed indicator check. Okay. We're getting a whistling and a banging noise from the bottom of the aircraft. Jesus, the cargo door.
The warning light should indicate if it's open.
Peter?
It's not working. It was all right at the pre-flight check.
I'm going back to check that noise, Joseph.
Let's have the seatbelts on.
Kind of sounds like a saxophone now with a little bit more adjustment on the PEQ. Just adjust it the film mix to play it's playing here in THX. So THX is Experiment. Thomas and Holman Experiment, THX. So it's kind of like, I'm kind of thinking like, what would tap do? What would the tap be doing? Yeah. You got to think, what's tap doing? But this film wouldn't have played in THX in 1980. Because THX then didn't exist. It might have just been starting very early days, but as a research into the mess why movie theatre, movie cinemas sound are all over the place, and the speakers used and the everything right down to production sound recording. Microphones, mixing consoles, amplifiers, cables, everything, crossovers, everything. Blimey. But yeah.
Oh, I could swear that floor is moving.
You're space, baby. Space.
Get a little bit more. You got to remember the sound pressure level of what the PA speakers are playing in a cinema are playing way more than what would be in the home. Or if you got the actual thing, then yeah, you can do it. And if you haven't, a typical little tiny hi-fi speaker, home theater bullshit sort of thing, they're just not going to do it. They're going to have tolerance limits where they just can't do it anymore than a proper cinema PA speaker. Get the real thing and yeah, you can play around with it. Because think of a little Calypso speaker and such, or a little that's a speaker that only produces sound. It's not something that reproduces. What I'm using behind the screen, what I use JBL and cinema speakers in the room, is to reproduce and getting that on and off axis and that, Boy, I can swear that floor is moving. Yes, spaced. Boy, I can swear that floor is moving.
Your space, baby. Space.
Gremlins.
I'm getting a little vibration on the yoke.
We'd better run a complete systems check.
Yes, sir.
Run a complete system. Run a complete THX system check. I don't usually play it in this format mode, but it's just with the center channel on, left and right on, but with the HF on left and right on mute. So I'm just enhancing, I'm doubling the bass, and I could actually put it through the sub bass extension. Give it a little bit more until that film and this mono film is, quite a bit you can do. Quite a bit if you do, and it's like the Starship Enterprise, and it's all beside, and all the levels on the amplifiers are okay, so which is kind of like the engineering on the Enterprise, the warp core, the warp core's in the kitchen. And Scotty's on the bridge, and he controls it from all those, he can control it from the bridge or go down into the engineering.
I'm getting a little vibration on the yoke.
A shuddering vibration.
I'm getting a little vibration on the yoke.
We'd better run a complete systems check.
Yes, sir.
Altimeters.
Set and checked.
What's wrong?
Oh, I just can't get comfortable. Feels like my seat's coming loose.
Some joke.
What's that noise?
I don't hear anything.
Feels like my seat's coming loose.
Some joke.
What's that noise?
I don't hear anything.
Would you mind turning off the music, please?
Come on.
Excuse me. It's back here.
Yeah.
Airspeed indicators.
Airspeed indicator check. Okay. We're getting a whistling and a banging noise from the bottom of the aircraft. Jesus, the cargo door.
The warning light should indicate if it's open.
Peter?
It's not working. It was all right at the pre-flight check.
I'm going back to check that noise, Joseph.
Let's have the seatbelts on.
Please return to your seats. Fasten your seatbelts. Thank you.
Good evening.
Is something wrong, Captain?
Nothing was sure.
But aren't you sure?
No worries, nothing serious.
Wow.
Cargo door is about to open.
Whoa. Whoa. That was a jolt. That was a jolt. And this is a mono movie. You know, I don't need play any of that rubbish Dolby Atmos, Marvel, Disney garbage, superhero garbage trash. Bloody hell, this is a mono film mix. Bloody hell, that was a jolt. Makes Wonder Woman, you know, sound like rubbish. You know, I've only watched that Wonder Woman rubbish 1. Utter rubbish. I can't stand Hans Zimmer and that garbage bloody music when they play that bloody Wonder Woman poms on. Bloody African drums playing. God almighty. Bloody modern movies today are bloody rubbish. Wow, that was a jolt, that was.
We've got explosive decompression.
Whoa.
Cargo door is about to open. We've got explosive decompression.
Yeah, the rest of the... If it is on the mix... You know, difficult to get an air pressure, so your hair's moving and everything flapping around with an air turbulent pressure. You just ain't going to get that from sub-bass speaker. You just wouldn't. Because you only get a certain air turbulence blowing out that sub, you know, at a certain frequency. And if it's not always there, you know, in the mix and such, then, you know, it's just not going to happen. Might as well try and fake it. Maybe we'll use synchronization with a fan blowing. But they got to turn on just a few seconds before, so that you get the wind blowing, and there's got to be quite a lot of it. But I think that's just taking all this a little bit too literal, you know. Oh dear. Now, at least it's better than a sound on a TV speaker, where the off axis on the speaker, oh, well, they're facing down on the floor. Blimey, the off axis on the front. Blimey, TV speakers, they're really facing downward. A couple of inches away from the floor. Surprised you can just get a sufficient. Kind of sounds like stereo, but not really too sure. Bass range is not very good because they produce a lot of resonant noises. TVs, they got a lot of resonant noises. I wonder what all these soundbar rubbish, garbage, trash. I wonder no one does proper tests, you know, all these bloody reviews, and, you know, don't they have any test equipment to run a frequency sweep on these sound bars and open it up and see what's inside it and how it's built and just what frequency range is it playing without a sub? What frequency range can it handle? Can it handle the opening of Star Trek 6: The Undiscovered Country? And that's just on the title opening before the explosion of the planet blowing up. Can it play those opening titles like it were the Empire Leicester Square? I don't think so. Not worth trying or even going there. It's not worth it. It's just pointless and waste of time. A load of sound bars are just and marketing bullshit with that soundbar snake oil. And then you get people thinking, oh, that's a good solution for a home theatre. And then you got a home, oh, God, really, please. Wow. Oh, yeah.
Our computers are out. Our control systems are out. Flying emergency systems. We're completely out of control.
Oh, wow. Oh, I can feel that Concorde, even though it's exaggerated. I can feel that Concorde.
Emergency systems. Give us some help. Give us some help. Come on.
Whoa. I swear the sound of that part in the mix and the frequency in the way sound is being mixed in the frequency in the mono almost sounded like a below sound shift, like when you play frequency sine wave tones, or not as a frequency sweep, but play a sine wave low frequency tones one by one, step by step, going through, on using the REM. You go through it pretty quick. You kind of hear the tone kind of moving upward, downward, kind of that way, depending on the frequency. And so when I play the film mix here, the Concorde kind of going down, and then part of the floor gives way because of the structural damage. Like that there. It almost feels like something giving away in the room. I know where the speakers are placed, even though to someone else it will be blind listening. You wouldn't know where those speakers are placed, where they're positioned, what they are. But when you hear a movie at a cinema and you think, yeah, and then your memory should memorize that. If you are really diehard, sound diehard, you eat, live, breathe it. Sound is your pet love. Sound is my pet love, even though my pet cats, even though Magic's at the hospital at the moment, Magic's at the vets until Monday. Sound is my pet love. But to most other people in these home theatre kind of groups on YouTube, a lot of them are fair. I think just a lot of them just want 10 billion bloody subscribers, and the information they're giving out, and sometimes it doesn't seem very good. But I know where my speakers are placed. I know where those JBLs are placed. I know where that JBL 4673A is placed behind the screen. But that sound effect there, it almost sounded like some part of the floor was giving away down in this position, when it's not. It's up there, but it's only a sound illusion. It's the way the sound mix is moving around in the mix and the frequency. Wow, that was pretty good. But how it played at the ABC when I saw this movie in 1980, I don't think I would be feeling a lot of it, because when I saw Indiana Jones and Last Crusade in 89, 70mm Dolby CP200 on a Philips, I think which DP projector, because there's several types. Not the same projector as the Empire Leicester Square, different type of Philips projector. But that's neither here or there. The magnetic sound head, or the magnetic penthouse, where all the when Layson when threading the film and then lacing it up, then, because you've got to thread it and then you've got to do the lacing up, where it's got to go through the magnetic sound head or the penthouse. Those heads have got to be always maintained and cleaned so they reproduce the high frequency. If they get dirty, then they're going to not reproduce high frequencies very well. But the actual speaker system, I could hear it on the most highest dynamic loud part sounds. I can feel it just a little bit, and it's not like that sort of feeling like it was at the Empire Leicester Square. Ricky and heck. Way more. It's not like hearing the soundtrack. You're feeling it before you hear it. And that's something you don't notice in real life. That's something that cannot even happen in real life because it just doesn't happen. But it was just exaggerated. So you're feeling what is on that soundtrack. That's like having an extra microphone, or maybe not a microphone, a piece of cardboard. If you hold a piece of cardboard outdoors, you go outdoors and you hold a piece of cardboard, acts like a diaphragm. And then you've noticed any traffic, cars, and the vibrations are picked up, and then you can feel it. If you hold that cardboard against your chest, guess what? You feel it. Throw the cardboard away, you don't feel it. Unless you get into that vehicle and then you feel mechanical vibration. Wow, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I like that bit with a part of the boom blows away.
Fire emergency systems completely out of control.
Whoa, feel that. There it goes.
Emergency systems. Give us some help. Come on.
Whoa. Wow.
Airspeed 320, altitude 11,000 feet.
My God, we fell 20,000 feet.
And I'm only driving these JBLs not even at half the power rating. They can handle quite a bit. And they doesn't cost the earth. If you go and buy some JTR or RTJ, daylight robbery. You just blown. How much is each single JTR? What they're trying to promote at the moment? Well, good luck to them, is all I can say. Because those speakers have never been used in a cinema, much less a dubbing stage. Whereas JBL have been used on dubbing stages and in the cinema and in the home, privately. Doesn't have to cost a stupid amount of money. You go look for it, you can get it secondhand, and it's going to play back like cinema in a small room. Wow, not bad for a mono movie. Not bad for a mono mix.
Airspeed 320, altitude 11,000 feet.
My God, we fell 20,000 feet.
I've radio contact with Munich. I'll advise them about condition.
I better go back and check the passenger.
Take a little bit more level. I think I can take it up, experiment experiment with it. And then you get the dynamic range on a Dolby mix, you know, and then you got to check things so they don't sound like it's peaking too much at a frequency. Check the frequency response with an RTA microphone. Check that, you know, you haven't got a peak that's going to always be peaky at that frequency. Put a PEQ filter and just bring it down so get this frequency smooth. And then what I would like to do is have one EQ to do the speakers, and then have a secondary EQ to adjust for the film soundtrack. So one EQ to adjust for the speakers in the room, how they are, how they play, how they sound. And another secondary EQ to adjust for the film soundtrack. Because you've got to kind of get that, what you heard, what you remembered, what you felt at a cinema, and get that to be reproduced in the home. It takes quite a bit of trial and error. Doesn't happen like that. It takes a bit of trial and error. But I'll say that's pretty good, successful. And like I say, I'm off axis, you know. I'm off axis listening. You know, I'm in the left seat. You know, I keep that seat. That's reserved for my cat, my cats. That's my cat's seat. No one sits in this seat. No one. You can sit over there, or sit at the middle back, which is pretty good. The middle back row. Or sit over that side, or sit over that side. That's still pretty damn good. If you want to sit in this seat, it's going to cost you. Because that seat's reserved for my cats. Got to have priorities.
Eli, you okay? I have the best seat in the house.
Best seat in the house. The best seat in the house. Bloody thing gave way, didn't it? Talk about the irony. Bloody hell. That happened to me at the Empire Leicester Square when I went to see, what bloody movie was it now? Star Trek. That Jar Jar Abrams rubbish. Saw it twice. So first time I see it, front row center. So I get an idea, the perspective of the sound up front, how it sounds, and then I memorize it and the feeling of it and all that in THX JBL. 56,000 kilowatts. Not playing at 56, but the capacity. So it's got headroom. But it wasn't that good. It sounded too toppy. Not enough bass. Because it wasn't the same configuration to what it was with the original. Whereas with the original, it had more bass. 16,000 kilowatts, but it had more bass. I'm only running 38,000 kilowatts. I wouldn't play that on full because it'll deafen you. I've got so much ridiculous headroom. That's okay. That's good. So take, you know, with the correct setting, the correct settings, PEQ settings and such, and you know, it can play pretty, you know, pretty damn good, but I haven't actually totally fully gone that far yet. Just the neighbors are going to hear it. Oh. It sounds better than a sound bar. Oh, and plus I got the fader turned up, so that's a little bit extra because it's a mono. It's mono, and the actual dynamic range is a little bit kind of less sort of on the dynamic range. So I'll just take the fader level up a little bit. 6.1 on the fader. That's neither here or there. Wouldn't mean anything to anyone else. You know, if you got Airport Terminal Collection on DVD, you know, and you put Airport Concord on, you're gonna think this sucks. This sound mix sucks. Oh no, it's your system. It's your system that sucks, and not just your system. It's also you that sucks because you don't know what to do. You don't know what changes to make. If you knew what changes to make, which are simple, you can even do a little change with just using the basic EQ on the AVR, which is half octave EQ spacing. They're not third octave, they're a bit more wider. So that's why there's only 63, 125, 250, 500, 1 kilohertz. Not sure if there's a 1.6. I know there's a 2 kilohertz, and then a 4 and 8 and 16. I think it's only 9 band. Let me just check. I think it's only 9. Is it 9 band? But I don't usually use them. No, they're turned off. Oh yeah, plus you got to have the film soundtrack playing. So the EQ's not activated. That's because the player is in pause. When play, menu changes again.
Listen to me, everybody. You can take off your oxygen.
And the EQ's turned off.
11,000 feet, you can breathe.
So if I turn it on.
Or you feel lightheaded or anything, then use the oxygen. The cargo door is blown off.
But I've only subtracted. I've only subtracted a few dB down on 63 hertz because I was doing a system check a couple of days ago.
You're feeling this vibration. We've activated a secondary system and it's working perfectly. We're also in contact with Munich.
So I'm just going to go back, turn it off. Because it's only a few dB down at 63 hertz. So I was running a test check through using the REM, going to the Dolby CP processor, so I can check the level meters on the CP200, so I'll get Dolby reference level. So I went through the 1/3 octave EQ bands on the REM where they're centered on 3rd octave and going through 20, 25, 31.5, 31.40, 50, 63, 50. No, yeah, I went through 63, 80 hertz, 100, 125, 165, 200, 250, 315, 400, 400, 500, 640, no, 630, 630, 800, 1 kilohertz, 1.125 kilohertz, 1.600 kilohertz, 2 kilohertz, 2.5 kilohertz, 3.150 kilohertz, 4 kilohertz, 5 kilohertz, 6.300 kilohertz, 8 kilohertz, 10 kilohertz, 12.500 kilohertz, and then 16,000 kilohertz, and then 20,000. And going through and making sure the level was up at 0, you know, and it wasn't going too high and such, because if it's banging the needle is almost bending the needle, reaching the top, and then sometimes it's a little bit too high because the voltage sensitivity is a little bit different, and it needs to be aligned and calibrated, so it doesn't overload or distort, because when the level reaches the amplifier at the normal correct levels, and the levels, the input are okay, the input levels are okay, the amplifier is there just to amplify, to increase dynamic range. Amplifier is the dynamic range, produces the dynamic range, the fake dynamic range, because it's not real dynamic range. It can only go so high, it can only go so much, and then that's it. It can't go any more than that, and it's just based on how much power there is. If I'm going to underpower it, then it can only go so much, and then don't want to push it, otherwise damage the amplifier. Thus will damage the speaker. Can't make the bloody signal kind of go square wave. It's got to be nice signal flow. Can't be, yeah. Otherwise it's going to sound horrible. There's a lot of power sometimes going into cinema speakers. A lot of power when you go, I mean, it's finding the good ones. The good ones just not really exist anymore. The good ones, I think. You know. So if I play this movie again, I wonder if I could remember the settings. To put the settings back, you know, and play. So I like that. I like that camera. I like that camera lighting with that nice bit of light coming in on the camera lens. I'm not sure I'm trying to use that remote. It's this remote. I like that camera lighting on that lens glare. I like that glare on the lens, and you get the nice color rainbow effect. Where is it? Oh, there it is. And you get the nice little circular glares in the lens. And then you get a nice bit of rainbow because of where the camera's looking. You get a nice color spectrum of red and green. Hang on, no. Red, green, and blue. Get nice glare effect. But it's nothing like Jar Jar Abrams' garbage trash, where it's just purposely whitewashing the bloody image out, and it's like you can't make out what the heck is going on. You know, that's a nice camera. Typically, sometimes when you move a camera around, you know, looking through the viewfinder or maybe on the LCD, and then you see this current light coming in at a certain angle, and it creates this nice color effect. Oh, yeah. Sometimes your eye sees it. You squint your eyes, you get these halo effects and all that. You get all these effects. I'll just go back, play a little bit earlier. Let's see how this scene plays.
No problems here. Close the cargo door and check the pressure sealing.
How's this play? Oh, I like the bass in it. I like the bass and the Foley. I don't know. Play that again. It almost felt like the sound was going underneath my seat. So I can feel it on my seat riser, and I can feel it going underneath the seat.
Rolly, some hot coffee? Rolly, some hot coffee?
Almost feel that. A little bit more enhancing, you know. A little bit more experiment.
Rolly, some hot coffee?
Because it's kind of you've got to look at the film soundtrack, look at the frequency response on the RTA. Measuring sound with RTA and is important. It's important. I could put a microphone underneath the seat, another microphone placed up at this position, and let me see. Yeah, one microphone kind of like underneath the seat, kind of, you know, get it on the place it on the floor underneath the seat, or use the microphone boom, angle it down so it's just suspending above the floor but underneath the seating, and then have another microphone up here, and then put it through the audio mixer, and then pan, and then use the pan pots, turn one to the left, one to the right, and then bring up the true RTA so I could look at it as a kind of stereo sort of thing, so I can see two imaging effects on the RTA, so I can see what it looks like up here and see what it looks like underneath, and look at the frequency and observe it, and run many tests, you know, to improve and enhance.
I'll be right out!
Let's just back it up a little bit. Let's play it from this scene with the
I promise.
On a night to work, we have to check the cargo hold.
Just listening to the rain sound effect.
On a night to work, we have to check the cargo hold.
Yeah, it's kind of almost there. You know, it's not. It's kind of sounds real. It's realistic on that rain sound effect. I mean, that rain sound effect would be from a library of rain sound effect, and not like it might be a new recording. You know, very few new recording sounds. Used for the film. Most others are just the same kind of same sound effect from a library.
What are this week's numbers?
That sounds kind of okay. Airport 77 sounds pretty good for mono. Airport 75, can't remember Airport 7 because I don't really play Airport 75 much. Airport, I only played it once. Wasn't really keen or too sure about that 5.1 mix on Airport. I suppose it's okay. But thought I would play that one more, wouldn't you, Bear? Don't really play that one that much. It's actually, I never saw that movie that much, and so I didn't even hardly see it at the cinema. I didn't even see it. It was the first Airport film I saw at the cinema. Airport 77 and Airport Concorde. I didn't see Airport 75 or Airport. I could have saw Airport 75. Not sure what year that would have been. Might have been playing 1975 when Jaws was playing. Yeah. I probably saw Jaws in screen 1 and Airport 75 might have played in screen 1, but then got moved into screen number 2. So yeah, I probably saw, yeah. But I can now. I can see it now and kind of play in THX sound system.
What are this week's numbers? 8757.
What's that there on the Foley?
8757.
Oh, almost. Oh, that sound there.
8757.
Oh, that sound there. That last bit of sound on the. It's very exaggerated.
757.
Almost feel it. That's exaggerated. And that's probably at a low frequency. But what low frequency? So you've got to analyze it on Spectrum Lab, where it's very, very precise.
A hand sewing man. meter. Oh. Right. Yeah.
That sounds like a bit of a downpour on the road surface. Sounded kind of on that rain effect there.
One.
Carl.
Being a woman is very important.
On a night to work, we have to check the cargo hold. What are this week's numbers? 8757. Hands on that.
Now, those speakers that are probably, I don't know, coaxial. So if you have something coaxial with a bass driver, tweeter in the middle, does that sound necessarily better than a two-way bass driver, HF horn up here? Because that's usually how it's associated with listening to movies, blind listening, you know. That's usually how it is. Most people, you know, don't even sort of know, you know, whether it's a two-way, a three-way, or how many bass drivers behind the screen. And how many speakers are actually playing. You know, if it was a mono movie, are they just using the center channel? Usually the center channel, if it's a JBL like at the Empire was, you know, that's 15 bass drivers for the center channel and then the HF horn. And that will be quite sufficient in bass. There might be some bass extension being used, some OBE being used, some OBE being used, and or they might format the processor to play the center, so it's spread literally all over, you know. But it should really, you know, but you don't know. Thing is, you don't know. Thing is, you don't know. And you're blind listening. Ugh.
The meter. Go. Right.
That sounds kind of realistic. just looking at the components on this circuit card. Yeah. You see some capacitors, IC integrated circuits with resistors. I don't know what do you call that thing? I got it on my processor. It's the same thing where it just slots in the thing on the back of the card and it just clips in. It's got all the pins, 24 pins or something, or maybe 36 pin. And it's all the components are mounted on the circuit board on one side. It's not one of those what do you call it, surface mount where it's mounted on the the components can be mounted on the top side and on the underside, and the components are very tiny. Some of the components are very titchy, fiddly. Yeah, I like that look on that circuit board. Oh yeah, that looks cool. Oh yeah, can almost see the detail in that. He's rubbing his finger across it to feel the contacts, the pin contacts. Yeah, wow. But I'm still thinking about my Cat Magic. It's okay. It's Saturday in a few hours, so Saturday, Sunday, that'll be 2 days. So if Magic gone down to the vets today, that's like half the day. So I'll probably pick him up on Monday, probably during the afternoon. So technically that'd be almost like 4 days. 4 days? Or was that 3 days? Hang on. Friday, half of the day, Friday. Right, Saturday, Sunday, 2. Yeah, technically 3 days. That'd be like 3 days. And that would be the longest he's been at the vets. 2 days was the minimum. Twice this year. One at the other vets for 2 days. And then the other vets now, 2 days, only a few days ago of this week. It's ridiculous. Because a bear agitating, winding him up. You're a little troll, you are, bear. You are. You're a troll cat. I'm going to have to get rid of you. You're going to have to go to a new home, bear. You got to go to a new home. I've got to look out for Magic. Yeah, I like all those green indicators. Those little green indicators on that. The yellow and the blue indicator.
When did you start wearing glasses?
Last week. They're
What's wrong with that dialogue? Sounded like, not sure if that's production or ADR.
When did you start wearing glasses?
last week. They're
Yeah, so if I heard some sort of, I don't know, maybe compression on that dialogue passage. Sounded a bit unnatural. But, you know,
just for reading. I'm gradually learning to accept most of life's humiliations. I've written this draft as the announcement for the press. Gives the complete
if there is
details of
ADR.
Harrison Industries.
If there is ADR, let's just go to the end credit. Chapter 19. I'll just watch the end credit. Is there ADR on it? Let's go up to the end credits. Here we go, end credits. End credits. I feel all the bass strings on the violin, the viola, maybe the violins, violas, the cellos. I feel all the string instrument. Okay, you got sound, Jim Alexandra, Robert Hoyt, John Stacey. Thing with credits back then on sound, not like what they are today, or maybe for Adobe Film Mix. This was 1979. Airport Concorde 79 or Airport 80, whatever you want to call the bloody movie. But it's like I'm only seeing sound recording, sound effect editor, music editor. Not seeing anything else so far. Sometimes they scatter sound credit over the end credits, and they're scattered randomly sometimes when they should be in one order. Sound credits come up along with music. Then usually sometimes they shuffle it around, and it makes it so confusing. So you just got to watch it, as well as you're listening to the music and you're feeling it. So I can feel quite a bit of that. Nice bit of I don't think it's very hard to tell whether ADR. So I didn't see a credit I didn't see any credit for ADR. Can't see any of those credits. So I have to assume ADR might be used with production recording. So it's a mixed bag. In it, Bear. But yeah, I don't really care about this. I don't really care about this movie. How many people probably play Airport Concorde at this moment? Or how many people have played it this month? That's easy to tell. You go to YouTube and you go to where Airport Concorde is, and look on the latest comments, and you can tell that someone's just watched it recently. But it's a crappy version uploaded on YouTube. It really is a crappy upload. It's not very good sound quality. Pretty crappy. And it's got nothing to do with it's YouTube. It's due to who's trying to compress the sound audio, what they're using it on and what they're ripping the film from, put it on a computer's hard drive and then upload the bloody thing. Wow, sounds pretty good. That's mono. Don't need stinking Dolby Atmos. And what about the opening? What about the other chapter options, isn't it? Options, chapter search, chapter 1. Wow. It almost sounds like Jaws. I like that Leo. I can't pronounce his name. Leo does the Mission Impossible music. Wow. And he also does the music for most of those Dirty Harry movies. La Concorde. Yeah, wow, that sounds cool. That sounds cool. How that plays back. How many people have got? I wonder how many people are running a JBL 4673A in their home. I know there's a few videos. I know some people haven't, but are they using them for actual, not just typical playing, some Chinese guy playing some bloody jazz music on some JBL cinema speakers? It's always the typical same. Oh, yeah. There's something very odd about the music. It sounds too clinical, clean, too perfect. And it sounds like, they're trying to make out the sound is coming from those speakers, and it sounds a bit too. Doesn't sound like a binaural recording. It just seems, like quite easy. What I could do, I could probably put microphones in the room and record the sound, as well as going through the audio mixer, the actual source music itself, and blend two of them together. So I've got partly some of the original sound coming through the source, and then the room itself. That's easy to do, to manipulate. But if I see someone playing some JBL 4673A, I know exactly how they sound and exactly how they feel and what to expect from them. But how you record it and how you play it back, got to make sure the microphone isn't over exaggerating some of the bass level. Otherwise, it sounds too boomy, too boxy. and that high frequencies not being exaggerated in certain ways. So it's awkward. So someone can think that kind of sounds like what it sounds. That kind of sounds like what it sounds like in your room. Yeah. Given where the microphone's placed, but then if that microphone's moved in elsewhere in the room, it's going to sound totally different to way that microphone is picking up the sound, or the sound is being reflected around the room and coming direct sound and reflected sound, and not that there's going to be a lot of reflected sound because the walls are absorbed. No echo. The only reflections are only on certain surface areas, but of course are reflective. Of course they're bloody reflected. Even part of the bloody microphone's reflective when you think about it. It's not covered in absorbent material now, is it? It's got a metal casing going around that microphone. Think about it. Microphone boom, and it's not like it's got an absorbent material placed over it. Think about it. I wonder if that's France. I wonder if that is a location there on France.
More coffee?
I'll sound like that, on that sort of hollowish kind of raw kind of I'd probably be looking for something, maybe thinking, I wonder if there's some harmonic distortion being, because there's going to be some sort of harmonic distortion. Thinking, I wonder if there is. And on the recording itself.
More coffee?
I heard you retired.
For a short time. I've changed my mind.
I'm glad you did.
Is there anything else you need, Captain?
It is still amazing to me. Only 3 hours and a half ago we were in Paris. World seems so small.
Thank you, Dallas.
They want us to park on 23. There's going to be a ceremony when Federation officially takes ownership of the plane. Tell them we'll be right there.
3 hour.
Thank you, Dallas.
It is still amazing to me.
3 hours.
Only 3 hours and a half ago we were in Paris.
3 hours. And it takes an average, well, gosh, I don't know, a DC-10 from Heathrow to Florida. I think that was 9 hours, 9-hour flight, a 9-hour flight. Blimey, so if a Concorde was going there, probably looking at, well, from that position there to that position there, from Heathrow, New York, looking, 3 hours, and if going to Florida, so it would be going down slightly diagonal, downward. So it's not going from point A to point B, so it's going from there down to that angle. I think the flight time would just be just a little longer, but not 9 hours. It would still be shorter flight time if it were Concorde. It's still a very short flight time. Kind of like taking a coach from my hometown to London, which is about roughly 2 hours 20 minutes. So I'd like to split her hair or so on an hour and think, blimey, going at twice the speed of sound. It's like an SR-71 crossing New York over to London and doing it in, I think, just a little bit less time than what the Concorde would be. Just a little bit, because an SR-71 can go a lot more faster. I think Mach 5, Mach 6.
World seems so small.
Thank you, Dallas.
They want us to park on 23. There's going to be a ceremony when Federation officially takes ownership of the plane. Tell them we'll be right there.
What is over the runways, Dallas?
Nom de Dieu, Paul, regarde. Full power, go around. Gear up, gear up.
The three balloonists, 2 men and a young woman,
It's very overwhelming on that. Let's turn it up a bit.
Dallas?
Turn it up a bit on the.
What is over the runways, Dallas?
Nom de Dieu, Paul, regarde. Full power, go around. Gear up, gear up.
the three balloonists, 2 men and a young woman, members of the radical...
Makes a bit of difference when you turn the fader up. Makes a bit of difference, but most home theatres, like I say, you know, you got to turn that fader up and you're going to find it, oh, that's too loud. You know, that's too loud. You know, because your mid-range, your high range is playing a bit too loud on the setting its sensitivity, and you're not getting enough bass. Yeah, not getting enough bass. What the blazes? Come out here. Anyway, 2 hours, 3 hours. Yeah, all right. That's enough. So on axis, off axis, and listening, and yeah. Kitty cat. Oh my goodness, he's so fast asleep there. Oh, yeah. Anyway, say bye-bye, bear. Hey? Say bye-bye. Bye-bye. Meow, meow. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, meow. Meow, 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 meow. And